Hello everyone, welcome to ManageEngine's Talk ITSM. I'm Arun Silvaraj. I've been with ManageEngine for over 8 years, consulting on ManageEngine applications and aligning them to meet our prospects' business requirements. In our last webinar, we discussed about the basic configurations that help you to quickly start with Service Desk Plus. And this webinar will help you to streamline your IT asset management effectively. The agenda for this webinar is displayed on the screen right now. We'll start off with the asset classification methods, asset discovery techniques and their advantages, the asset lifecycle management procedures, starting from procurement to disposal, software asset tracking and management, software license management, and compliancy. Now let's get started and start off with the asset classification methods. So in Service Desk Plus, the assets can be classified into 4 types. It starts off with the IT assets, non-IT assets, asset components, and consumables. Among these, only the IT assets consume the asset license in Service Desk Plus. Now let's look at the table which is shown here to give you the clear differentiation between the 4 different types. So any device which carries an IP address and can be reached in the network is considered as an IT asset. Okay, the classic examples are the switches, workstations, printers, routers, and access points. Any other non-IT assets are going to be the assets which do not have an IP address and cannot be reached in the network. It could be anything like a projector, scanner, or any furniture, lights. These can be treated as non-IT assets. The components are going to be part of the asset but doesn't have a standalone function on its own. It could be the external monitors which are connected, any like docking station, keyboards, mouse. These are considered as asset components. The consumable is going to be, again, similar to the component, but it's going to be essential to be functioning properly. Like for a printer, it could be the printer toner ink, or for a printer can also be the paper, which is going to be added, which is going to be taking the printouts from, and the Ethernet cables. So these are considered as consumables. Okay, and among these 4 types, the IT asset is going to be part of your licensing. So having classified the assets properly now, let's look into the asset discovery techniques. So I'm going to be jumping into the web client and showing you how we'll be able to discover the assets which we discussed earlier into the tool itself. Okay? So the IT assets are listed here, and the IT assets are going to be discovered primarily using agentless or the agent mode. Okay? So there are 2 modes in this. The agent mode is the most preferred mode of discovery, and we are going to be making sure that the workstations are going to be automatically discovered. So let me brief you about the Windows agent-based discovery module. So we start off with configuring the agent settings. We are going to be making sure that the TCP port 9000 is open across the firewall from the Service Desk Plus server on both directions. And we also make sure that the Service Desk Plus server itself is going to be reachable on the port 88 available here, which is configured, which can be modified according to your requirement. Okay? So having done that, we'll be able to download the agent, which is a lightweight MSI file, which is around 3.2 MB, which you can see here. So this agent is available for the Windows workstations and servers. So you can download the agent and push it across in a group policy. You can use the Active Directory mode, where the group policy will be making sure the agent is installed on every workstation or server, and it reports back to the Service Desk Plus server automatically. So there is no need of manual discovery. The agent automatically reports back to the server and gets added itself inside the asset management module. And the other option is, if you have a workgroup environment, you can use some system administrator tools like PSExec to push out your agent to the workgroup environment. Okay. So that is the most preferred way of deploying agents and getting them discovered. Okay. There is also scripts available for Linux and Mac machines, which can also be pushed across in a similar fashion using some proprietary softwares like curl or anything like Linux. You can use your own batch files or script files to push them to different servers. Similar for HKUX as well, we do have some scripts available. So this is going to be scripts, not exactly the agent which we discussed in the Windows agent model. The second option is going to be the agentless mode of discovery, where we will be using some agentless protocols like SNMP, WMI, Telnet SSH, and VMware credentials. Okay. So using this, you can remotely manage multiple environments without pushing out any agents. The first step in doing that is going to be you're going to configure the library, which is the WMI credentials, which could be any service account or a domain admin account, which has got administrative privileges on the remote machine. So you have to define all the different type of credentials which you have, and also classify them accordingly. Like we'll go for the Telnet now. If you're going to scan some Unix workstations, you can give the guest account or the root account information here. Similarly, we have VMware Web Services API information which can be populated in the credentials library. Since ManageEngine is a technology alliance partner, we will be making use of the API for scanning the ESX environment. So you can give the root credential and the password accordingly. For all the network equipment like printers, routers, and switches, we will use the SNMP read community string. And these are the different agentless protocols supported. And once you configure the library with enough information, you can go for the scan. So we have the network scan where you can define a network address or IP range, and you can select the appropriate credential on a particular network. And when you do a scan, it will make sure that it's going to reach out to every IP on that network and apply the credentials which are listed here. So it could be something like this. We have different credentials. And if a credential is able to fetch information, it will be automatically discovered and added into the asset management module. So this is available for Windows, non-Windows like Linux, as well as for SNMP enabled devices. So we can go for the Windows domain scan, where you will be able to do a quick discovery of all the devices which are listed on the Active Directory computers section. So we will be able to pick up all the servers and Windows servers and computers and add them automatically. Then the last method of performing the scan is the distributed asset scan. Say, for example, you've got different offices in Australia. So the head office is in Sydney, but you do have other offices in Darwin and in Perth. So in that scenario, what you would have to do is that you have to go for something like a distributed asset scan model, which is available with this function here. So you can see on the picture, you'll have the central server located in your head office. You can have remote Asset Explorer server, which is again Service Desk Plus installations, which are going to be running in all your branch offices. So the branch offices will be able to perform all the scan in the local environment, and it will take the information as a zip file, which you can upload it here, or it will also try to communicate if there is adequate port open so that it can reach out to the network. So this will prevent a lot of asset scanning failures, as well as you'll be able to manage your bandwidth. So if, say, for example, if you have all these offices connecting to the central server during an asset scan, it will be making sure that the bandwidth is pretty much used completely. So in that case, this model will be the right model to go for, which is the distributed asset scan. Okay. And one more, after the asset discovery is done, let me also show you how you can also define your own asset type. Okay. So say, for example, you have a new IP camera or a new device which doesn't fit into the regular IT asset which is listed in the assets tab. You'll be able to define your own product type by typing in the new asset type here. Like you can just define it here and choose it as IT. So as long as it is marked as IT, it will be consuming the license. Say, for example, if the same product type is something which I don't want to classify as an IT asset, so in that case, I can configure it as a non-IT asset here. So this way, I will be able to make sure that this particular asset, it's not considered as a IT asset or a non-IT asset. So this way, I'll be able to manipulate on it. So let's look at how the assets are classified. So IT assets are discovered and shown using the three different methods which I showed you and discussed earlier. So coming to the non-IT assets, you will be able to import the non-IT assets in the form of a CSV file. So we've got options called import from CSV, where you will be able to have an Excel file or a CSV file which is pre-populated with all the information, and it can be imported into the tool. Okay, so you will be able to have them added in one single operation instead of adding them in multiple options manually. Okay, so this way you can classify all the non-IT assets. Similarly, asset components like docking station or any keyboard, mouse can also be imported from a CSV file. Okay. So now we'll have a quick look into we'll have a quick question to be discussed now. So let me read out the question to you. The question is going to be, which is your preferred mode of scanning? So having discussed about the asset discovery and the classification, so we want to ask you which is going to be the preferred mode, whether it's agent-based or agentless. So we've got another 30 seconds to take your input. Okay, thanks for the input. We've got the rest, the attendees mentioning it as primarily agent-based. So we've got nearly 100% of the attendees telling that they prefer the agent-based. So as you know, that's the right way to go for. Agent-based saves a lot of bandwidth, and also it's got additional functions. Okay, so the first part is agent-based will always do a differential scan. So say for example you're performing a scan now, and there is some changes on that particular asset. So during the next scan, only the changes will be transmitted over the wire instead of performing the scan all over again. Whereas in the agentless, we will be able to do the complete scan and every time, so it will be taking much more of your bandwidth comparatively when compared with the agent. Like say for example, if it is 3 KB for the agent, the agentless will be around 12 KB of your bandwidth per scan. Okay, that's the advantage here. So now let's move on to the other component, which is going to be the asset lifecycle and its advantages. Okay. So in a real-time environment, you would have a service request, which would be raised by one of the requesters asking for a new workstation or a new asset. It could be an IT asset or a non-IT asset. In general, if it's an IT asset, a service request is raised and it goes through an approval process. And once approval is done, it goes to the purchase department, and the purchase department will be going through a process where they'll create the purchase order and again go for the purchase order approval section, and it will be approved. And once it's approved, it will be going into the vendor will be contacted and an order will be placed. And once the order is received, an invoice is raised and the payment is done. And finally, the purchase order is closed. So in this tool, in Service Desk Plus, since we have a tight like alignment between the different modules, at the end of the purchase order completion, you'll be making sure that the asset itself is automatically added into the assets IT asset portion, and it will be listed. So let me show you that in that quick example. So this is going to be the service request, which is raised for requesting for a new Dell all-in-one PC. Okay, so this is being raised, and we have a purchase order which is attached to that particular request. So this purchase order will make sure that this Dell all-in-one series, not only one but 10 different items are ordered, and all of them have been delivered. Okay, so once this is assigned, you can see that it will be automatically shown under the Assets tab. So you can go here and see that this particular model is already released here. So you can see that the asset is automatically added at the end of the purchase order life cycle, and there is a reference for this purchase order. So you can just click on this purchase order and you can go back to the purchase order information. So this information is recorded forever, so that whenever you have any query on that asset, you can look at the purchase order which was raised earlier. So this will be adding to the history and also to the audit information. So that information is already captured here. So this is going to be a typical life cycle. So let's look at a good asset here and I'll explain you all the different modules available within the asset itself. So if you look at the asset, we'll be able to see the asset service tag information, the name of the asset, the MAC address, operating system will be automatically captured. The BIOS information is also shown here. You can see the version and the BIOS date. Similar to that, you can also see the software information. All the softwares which are installed on that particular asset is being captured along with the installation date, and license keys of all the Microsoft Office installations are automatically picked up here. And if you click on the system tab, it will tell you the frequently logged in users of that particular asset. There is also a relationship, which is like a CMDB information, which will tell you how this asset is related to different components, configuration items in this environment. So this asset is having about 9 requests pending in its name. It also has got this many softwares installed. So if you just look at it, it can also show you who's the owner of this asset and which are the asset components attached to it. So all this information will give you a quick graphical information. You can also see it in the form of a list view for this relationship. And coming to the history, it tells you what are the audit history, what was happened in the last successive scans, whether the software is uninstalled or reinstalled, the IP address has changed or the MAC address has changed. Everything is captured in the history section. If this asset is involved in any incident or a change or a problem, you can track it from the asset page itself. Similar to that, we have contracts. The contracts are going to be managed by the vendor. So vendor will be leasing out this asset, or this asset will be part of a contract, and you have to renew the contract before it expires, right? So in that case, you can track it from the asset page itself. So you can see what contract is binding this particular asset, and you can see what are the renewal details, what are the child contracts associated with this particular asset. So all that information is tracked in the asset itself. And the last section is going to be the financials, which is going to tell you, which is going to help you in calculating the depreciation value of the asset, okay, and all the costs incurred on that asset over its lifetime. So we have something called as a salvage value, which is going to be the estimated value of an asset after its useful years, right? Say, for example, if the useful life of an asset is going to be 5 years, and the salvage value is 2,000 Australian dollars, and the initial purchase cost was 5,000. So we would be automatically calculating what is the time upon which the salvage value will be reached, and once it reaches, it will automatically send you a notification saying that this asset has reached its depreciation value, and you can either make a call on whether you wanted to decommission it, or you can either upgrade it or perform some other action. So this will be tracked on the same page itself. And Services Plus also gives you one other important feature, which is going to be classifying the asset state. Okay, so say for example, this asset is currently in use, and as per the financials, it has already reached the salvage value, which is going to be making sure that the asset has already had its useful life being completed. In that case, you can automatically move this asset to the in repair or to the you can move to the expired or to the disposed state. So this way, you will be able to reclaim the asset license. At the same time, the asset need not be deleted from the system. Okay, so this way, you will maintain all the history about this asset. At the same time, give way for a new asset to be replacing this asset. So that is an option available, which is there by default. Okay? So in this tool. So now let's get into the other section, which is going to be the software asset management section. Okay? So the software assets are going to be, the software applications have been crucial assets that play a vital role in the performance of any business, right? So with software asset management, you can pretty much reduce the cost and the risk of software vendor audits. You can also eliminate some security threats caused by some unauthorized software, or minimize the cost on unnecessary software. Okay, so this will help you to channel your resources to the proper managed software, and make sure that the prohibited softwares and the softwares which are over licensed, under licensed are all removed from the system. Okay? So let me show you the different classifications here. So we have what is called a software type in the application, which will tell you whether it is excluded or freeware or managed. So the licensing module of the softwares will be applicable only for managed softwares. We also have prohibited softwares, proprietary softwares for softwares which are developed in-house. Then we have shareware and unidentified. You can also add your own software type if you find that it's not being listed here. There is also software categories, so you'll be able to classify them and put together in a particular category. Say if it's all multimedia software or graphics software, that information is available here. So let me show you how the software are scanned and shown in this application. So if you go into the Assets tab and look under the software option and scan software, you'll be able to see all the softwares which are installed and available in this environment. So it will be automatically picked up from the add or remove programs or from the registry. You can see when the software is installed, all that information will be available. So if you click on a particular software, you can see the information about how many installations have got this particular software. So it's going to be like here, it's around 149, upon which one is unlicensed and the others are all licensed. So if this is an unlicensed copy and I wanted to notify the user of this particular asset, I can just click on send mail, and you can automatically send an email message saying that this asset needs to be licensed, or you can ask them to uninstall or get a license and apply it. You can also allocate license manually here. That information is available under this section itself. Okay, and you can see here, you can also group all the softwares here. If you want to see only the prohibited softwares in the environment, I can see in this section. If there is any torrent applications running which is not allowed in the production environment, I can click on this and see which are the installations running this particular torrent application. You can send an email to that user asking them to uninstall the application, and that you can also make sure that you can warn them or do some actions on it. Okay. That is available under the scan software. Similarly, the other modules can also be seen here in a single pane of glass. Okay. So that's pretty much about the software asset management section right now. So now I'll just host another poll question. So, the one which is on the screen is going to be giving you options to provide a value. So the question is, how do you manage your tickets and assets? Is it going to be in a single application or using two separate applications? So I'm talking about the help desk and the asset management section. So we've got another 30 seconds. Thanks for your input. Again, the answers are right. So you've all preferred for going for a single application like Service Desk Plus, which will be managing both the help desk and the asset management, and they have a very unique relationship between them, so that you can automatically tag. Say, for example, if a requester raises a incident request, you can automatically see the asset information captured in that incident itself. So you need not ask a question to that requester on what asset are you having, or what are the assets which you are involved with, or what are the asset components. So the asset gets automatically tagged along. Similarly, on the assets page, if you go to the request tab under the assets, you can see all the incidents which are related to this asset. So this way you can see the complete integration between the help desk and the asset management module. Okay. So now let's go to the last section of this webinar, which is going to be the software license management and compliance, right? So we have the software license module, which allows you to import all your licenses in a CSV file. By default, we will be able to pick up all the Windows Microsoft Office license keys. Automatically, you can see that it has been fetched here. But there are some other softwares which we don't pick up, like say, for example, Adobe or any other application, for which you can automatically import the licenses in a single option. So the option to do that is going to be clicking on Add New and providing the proper information. If you're going to be adding it manually, you can do this here. So you can just select whether it is a volume license or whether it's going to be a CAL license, all that license information can be mentioned. You can also tell how many installations are allowed, and then first create the software license. And once the software license is captured in the tool, you will be able to allocate the license here, which we showed earlier under the scan software information. So once the software licenses are available, you will be able to allocate license to the appropriate installations. Okay, this way you will be able to manage them in the tool, and this will help you to give you a clear idea about the compliancy of the software. So whether it is over licensed or under licensed, so all these options are available, which can be captured automatically. So this will help you to make a call on whether you wanted to invest, or like you have to do all the budgeting for the proper softwares which are going to be which are actually under licensed. You can procure more licenses for that and make sure that you don't have too many softwares which are over licensed. Okay? That option is available and gives you a clear picture on the license available. One other information is we also have the software suite license. Say, for example, if you have Microsoft applications and you have more than one application running on a particular machine, so in that case, you will be able to classify them as a suite. Say, for example, you have Professional Plus, Office Basic 2007 running. So if it's more than one or two, you can automatically apply the Microsoft Suite license and classify them instead of treating them as individual software installation, software components. Okay, that option is also available here under the Microsoft Suite applications. Okay. So that's pretty much about what I wanted to cover in this asset management portion. So what we covered were the 5 basic steps. So we were discussing about the asset classification methods, the discovery techniques, the asset life cycle starting from the procurement to the disposal. We have the software asset tracking and management, software license management, and compliance. Okay. Now it's over to you to questions. And before the questions, I would like to inform you about our portal called pitstop.manageengine.com, where we have a lot of Service Desk Plus users actively participating in the community, doing knowledge transfer as well as asking questions and providing some valuable feedback, and also making requests, feature requests, and also voting for them, so that we will be able to know which are the high priority requests, right? Which are the high priority features which people are requesting. So I would encourage you to take part on the pitstop.manageengine.com and provide us with some active good feedback on this. Okay, and this is going to be the schedule for the webinar. So we do have another webinar coming up in the Tuesday of the coming week. That will be again on a Tuesday. We'll have it between the same time, which is 12 noon to 1 p.m. So thanks for attending this webinar. Hope it was informative. And let's meet again on June 28th. It's going to be the last Tuesday of this month, and that's going to be on a different topic, which is IT service management. And hope you'll be interactive like currently on this webinar. Okay. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.